So 7:15. Let's talk about TikTok. The boss of TikTok, you might have been aware, was defending his app in the face of hostile questioning in the US Congress yesterday.
Shou Ji-Chu denied that the social media platform was a national security risk and played down its connection to China. This hearing came as the UK Parliament announced it would ban TikTok from its networks. Our North America technology reporter James Clayton has more.
If TikTok's boss thought Washington would roll out the red carpet for him, he thought wrong. For 4.5 hours, Shou Chu faced hostile and relentless questioning. The chair of the Energy and Commerce Committee set the tone.
TikTok collects nearly every data point imaginable, from people's location to what they type and copy, who they talk to, biometric data, and more.
Many of those measures are first.
And from there, it didn't get much better for TikTok's boss. It's not just politicians in the US that are worried. The UK Parliament has banned TikTok from its work devices over concerns about security, with similar measures taken by the Scottish and Welsh governments. There are two primary concerns about TikTok, and they both involve China. The first is that we know TikTok hoovers up data from your phone, like usage data, location information, and biometric data. There are worries that this could be handed to the Chinese government, something that TikTok categorically denies. The other concern is that so many people now use TikTok, it wields enormous influence. Could the Chinese government tweak the algorithm to influence what we think? This is what Shou Chu said to that.
I'm making the following commitments to you and to all our users. Number one, we will keep safety, particularly for teenagers, as a top priority for us. Number two, we will firewall protected US data from unwanted foreign access. Number three, TikTok will remain a place for free expression and will not be manipulated by any government.
The UK often follows the US's lead when it comes to cybersecurity. And what we know now is that many politicians in the US don't just want the platform reformed, they want it banned outright. James Clayton, BBC News.
So Jake Moore is a cybersecurity expert with us now. Morning to you, Jake.
Good morning.
So, I mean, this is an important day, wasn't it, in terms of TikTok and a big technology company facing questions.
Yeah.
What did we actually learn? There was a lot of posturing, I felt, from the American politicians. Give the guy a hard time.
Yeah.
What did we learn?
Well, he definitely took a few punches. I think a lot of the congressmen and women were trying to potentially knock him out. But I think what it comes down to is there's a huge problem with social media in terms of privacy, the data they capture. But TikTok is so intrusive in the way that it tries to grab so much more data than not just from locations and contacts, but how it can be used. And then it could be used to manipulate people.
So on the subject of what we learned, I think we heard the clip there. One of the things he said, for example, is the boss of TikTok. He said, "We will firewall protect the US data from unwanted foreign access." Now, translate that into what that actually means, because that sounds on the face of it like the core of the thing. We're worried that information will go somewhere else. So what does he mean when he says we'll firewall protect?
Well, it's a very clever way of saying they're going to protect the data. It's called Project Texas, to make sure that no, say, nefarious actors are going to try and connect to that data and abuse it. But unfortunately, the threat here is that the Chinese Communist Party can, by their own law, have access to that data if they choose to access it through ByteDance, the TikTok parent company.
That makes that pledge meaningless.
Effectively.
OK, so with what's going on now, I mean, we've got the UK Parliament banning TikTok on any work phones, all parliamentary devices and networks. The BBC, the Scottish Government has announced something similar. The BBC has advised its employees as well not to have TikTok on their work phones. How does that, those, major institutions, how does that reflect on everyday people's usage of TikTok and impression of TikTok?
Well, first of all, that is a very good position to stand. I think it's a great example of how devices are capturing all this data and sending it up to all sorts of apps. So you look at Facebook, Instagram, it's capturing so much data. But the worry here is where that data is being shared with and analysed. And like I say, could it be manipulated in terms of political progress? Then potentially, we saw with Cambridge Analytica and Facebook a few years ago how it was used in the presidential election. I think that's the worry that governments around the world, and quite rightly, are worried about if that data is used in the future to
But my question really is about when you've got major institutions, governments and, you know, the national broadcaster saying, do not have this on your work phone, what do people who use TikTok, particularly younger people, it's a younger person's app, so to speak, does that make a difference in how they use it? Because when you refer to Facebook, you know, there were times when people deleted Facebook off their computers and off their phones in reaction to the Cambridge Analytica. Is that going to happen now?
Well, you do have that worry that people are going to be thinking about their data right now. But I think what we're seeing now is that we're starting to understand that these huge companies can access that data. You might find people go and delete TikTok. I think that's TikTok's worry. But if they're able to access our data, and we're talking about it like right now, I think that's a good step forward. Parents, children starting to realise their data.
Can I ask
but
you?
then you've got
A lot of questions.
Well,
Sorry, go on.
then you've just got the irony of the BBC partnering with TikTok for Eurovision. So it's almost like there's this push-pull with, you know, we're mindful of the data it could mine, but equally we can't ignore just how popular the actual app is.
And the phrase, just to establish, because I think this is a recent revelation, the partnering thing is that Eurovision organisers, have done a deal with TikTok to do with providing coverage, and the BBC is involved in that sort of round circle, isn't it? Because they are providing the pictures. Yeah. So it's not a direct deal as such, but they're in a package,
well,
aren't they?
It highlights the potential reach that TikTok has to millions of people, not just in Europe, but all over the world. And you can see that Eurovision have tried to take advantage of the platform to get out to so many people.
You're a cybersecurity expert, so if we were to look at your devices, which you're not going to do, and look at the precautions you've taken over the years that you've wised up to all these things, what would we find? What would we find that you've done that we might be thinking, maybe I should do that?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, this comes down to how the apps are.
Yes, but what have you done?
Do you know something that I don't?
No, I don't. I'm just curious.
Have you deleted any apps or kind of changed any settings?
Yeah, I don't have TikTok on my phone. However...
For what reason?
From what we're hearing about the security implications. However, I do have an ESET social media team that use TikTok, and I use TikTok to go and promote cybersecurity awareness. Funnily enough, the TikTok video that has got the most views on our site is about TikTok scams.
What else have you not gone on or chosen not to do? And now I'm really curious because people want to know this stuff. You know your business.
I think it's about really understanding those apps that we're using, being able to limit the amount of data that we're giving away.
You're reluctant to say. I get the bit. I'm not trying to catch you out. I just think people might be interested.
I would say all apps we need to be thinking about limiting our data. Don't give away your personal email address. Use a burner email address. That's another one that might be connected to you that's not connected to those other apps. And Mike, let me just add the extra point. Make sure that all of those passwords for all of your different apps are unique, because that then protects you as a user.
I think Jake needs to come back on another occasion and answer questions from people, because I think people have lots of questions.
We're not the US Congress, and he's not representing TikTok, OK?
Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it? It really is. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's coming up to 25 minutes past 7. Good morning to you. Now, as GP surgeries await the government's